Yo, what's going on, boy? I'm here with the benefit of you guys today. Welcome to my channel. Do all things algorithm, like, comment, and subscribe. Do all the things y'all gonna like, as I just said. Today we're gonna do a reaction video to WhatCulture gaming 10 reasons all video games are starting to suck. I saw this video, thought it was interesting, thought we'd check it out together. Not really gonna say much else. Let's get into it.
There's no medium that's evolved in the same way as video games.
That's
in
a
less
familiar
than
voice.
half a century, we've gone from primitive pixels to graphics indistinguishable
Sounds like
from real
just from
life.
GameSpot.
So the big
Did she
question
leave
is,
GameSpot?
why do so many modern titles have such glaring issues? I'm Jess from WhatCulture,
It
and
is
here are
Jess.
10 reasons all video games are
She's a very
starting to
distinct
suck.
voice. It's a very lovely,
Number
pleasant
10,
voice.
over-marketing. When the Resident Evil Village trailer was released, viewers went crazy over Lady Dimitrescu due to, just look at her. She's
And it ended up being like the most forgettable part of that game. Like, I love Resident Evil, but Lady Dimitrescu to me was just whack. Sorry, not sorry. She was whack.
epic. Rather than leaving well enough alone, Capcom went nuts, pumping out clips, teasers, and posters revolving around the Countess. Even though Village was well received, players were disappointed to learn that Dimitrescu didn't play a major part. Although the trailers implied that she was the antagonist, she exits the story before the halfway point. Annoyingly, this sort
she's
of
like literally the
over-marketing
first,
happens
like,
all the time. Because Far Cry 3
10%
sold
of
Vast
Act 1 of the game,
Montenegro as the
essentially.
big bad of Far Cry 3, gamers were confused when he was killed off before the climax. But this doesn't just happen with characters, but with the games themselves. An exorbitant amount was spent on the marketing costs for Destiny, No Man's Sky, and Cyberpunk 2077, even though they all received underwhelming reviews upon release. If the creators repurposed some of the marketing money into the games themselves, it would have worked out for the better. If
got a
these
point.
characters prove to be popular, we don't need them shoved down our throats. If the games can stand on their own, we don't need to be reminded of them every 5 minutes. Number 9. AAA games are designed to be addictive, not good. A lot of addictions start off as fun, but quickly come across as monotonous. Sadly, gamers are well aware of this, since many modern titles are designed to keep you playing whether you want to or not. For example, many games have a reward system, which offers gifts to the player if they
I keep saying this, and finally someone else is saying it too, that's what's happening right now. All these games are designed for you to like just non-stop play. That's why it takes. That's why I like Call of Duty right now. No one playing Call of Duty right now is playing because they want to play it. They're playing just to unlock their skins. You will always see someone just trying to get the next skin, trying to get this skin, trying to get that skin, trying to get, just all it is. They're just trying to get gun skins because that's the only thing the game has to keep you playing. So just being a good game. I keep saying this. If you make a good game, it doesn't matter about the skins. The skins can be just something that's as an icing on the cake to get someone to play the game. But if the game is good, people will play regardless. You can like, listen here, developers. You can have all this attention and all this playtime for your games by just having a good game. It's like I'll be addicted for life if it's a good game. Hello, I still play Halo 1 every single year since it came out. That's 21 years of playing the same game over and over again that has no new content. Why do I keep playing it? Because it's a good game. Make a good game, you gotta suck in for life.
perform a specific activity within a certain time frame. Even though there are days where you might want to break from video games, this technique forces you to keep coming back because it makes you feel like you're missing out if you don't.
FOMO.
The scary thing about these addictive methods is the fact that they're deliberate. In recent years, more and more games are following the rules of Skinner box conditioning, which was designed to mold the behavior of lab rats. Gamers are rewarded with an impressive visual and relaxing chime after they perform simple tasks, to encourage them to keep playing. Because reward systems are constant and never changing, it gives players a scheduled dopamine fix and makes them feel like they can never stop playing. The fact that developers are tweaking their games to hijack our brains isn't just depressing, it's a little frightening. Number 8, turning everything into a collectathon. Not only did Super Mario 64 revolutionize 3D platforming, it showcased that a game focused on collectibles could be hugely addictive. Many titles followed in Super Mario 64's footsteps by incorporating collectathon missions into the gameplay. Unfortunately, a lot of modern games insert collectibles just for the sake of it. Did you enjoy solving all those Riddler puzzles in the Batman Arkham series? Did you not feel like you wasted your time after retrieving all 500 Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild only to be rewarded with a piece of golden poo? Ironically, even Mario has fallen into this trap. In Super Mario Odyssey, you have to defeat bosses and wall kick across skyscrapers to collect power moons. Other times, you just need to walk towards a small mound or sit on a bench to acquire these collectibles. If the developers are putting minimal effort into how the player obtains these items, why have so many? At a certain point, you don't feel like you're playing games like this out of enjoyment. Instead, you're just collecting stuff because you've been conditioned to. Although there's nothing wrong with collectibles, they shouldn't be used as an excuse to superficially pad out your playthrough.
Agreed.
Speaking of which, number 7, superficially padding the playthrough. Now that modern games boast hundreds of levels, thousands of NPCs, millions of lines of dialogue, and a world big enough to get lost in, it seems impossible for players to get bored. So why does it keep happening? The answer is simple. More isn't always better. You can be done and dusted.
Because these worlds might be like bigger, but they're empty. And you have an empty world, you're gonna get bored. I get bored so easily when I play a lot of open world games nowadays. And I play freaking Division 2, and I play the God of War game, and I play freaking Horizon, when I play freaking like there's a lot of these open world games, Valhalla. I just get bored because it's like it's just too big. I want to just like I had this issue with ESO. ESO has so much stuff going on for it that's good, but because it's all just so pieced out, it's like, all right, at like a couple hours I'm bored. Bigger games with little content is boring.
With Undertale, Short Hike, and Portal in a few hours, and yet feel totally satisfied. It's fine if a video game is long, but there's a right and a wrong way to go about it. A lot of RPGs have a section where the difficulty noticeably spikes, forcing the player to grind for hours until they're strong enough to progress. This unsubtle method to bloat the gameplay isn't just tedious, it's lazy. Hollow Knight, Assassin's Creed, and God of War may have received glowing reviews, but they still fell into the trap of stretching out the playthrough by relying on backtracking. Skyrim and Breath of the Wild dodge this issue despite being renowned for their length. Both titles give you so much freedom that you've got a lot of control over how long your adventure will be. If you wish to take part in a zillion side quests, there's nothing stopping you. If you intend to focus entirely on the main campaign, go for it. If all developers used this approach, modern games wouldn't be regularly criticized for being artificially elongated. Number 6, expecting gamers to accept broken games. There are a few things more grating than getting hyped for a game only to learn it's borderline unplayable. Aliens, Colonial Marines, Sonic 06, and WWE 2K20 weren't just bad, they were undeniably broken. Why are AAA games like these being released when they're obviously not ready? Better yet, why do creators expect us to put up with this subpar practice? In fact, why do we put up with it? When Marvel's Avengers was deemed an utter train wreck, Square Enix put out an apology, reassuring fans a patch would rectify over 1,000 glitches. But why did it have 1,000 glitches to begin with? 10 is too many, 1,000 is unheard of. Sadly, these issues have become so common, gamers have become desensitized to it. At one time, bugs like this could tank a game. Nowadays, they're just getting a free pass. If you're concerned you might come across as petty for complaining about issues like this, then don't be. If you spent your hard-earned cash on a product manufactured by a billion-dollar conglomerate, you got a right to be ticked off if it's not up to standard. Number 5, focusing on everything except gameplay. Because entertainment mediums grow stagnant without innovation, it makes sense why developers are keen on finding new ways to enjoy gaming. Since we focus on VR, motion capture, and photorealistic graphics in recent years, the gaming world appears to be pushing boundaries more now than ever. However, gaming companies can become so fixated on a new mechanic or peripheral, they forget about the most crucial element, which is it good? Epic stories, mind-blowing twists, cinematic sequences, badass bosses, extensive lore, and huge open worlds mean nothing if the gameplay isn't up to scratch. Stardew Valley, Wii Sports, Tetris, and Minecraft put no emphasis on graphics or plot. Nevertheless, they became astoundingly successful, purely because of their addictive gameplay. Now let's look at the other side of the coin. Square Enix spent years fine-tuning every aspect of Babylon's Fall. Despite the hard work put into this online live service RPG, it was virtually unplayable, forcing Square Enix to shut down the service after less than a year. Although not every game is as disappointing as Babylon's Fall, this sort of thing happens time and time
Square
again.
Enix is like just like Ubisoft. They make a lot of terrible shit with a lot of legendary IPs.
Annoying AI companions. How many games were improved upon inserting a whiny sidekick?
I show video on that, boy.
And yet AI companions seem to be getting more popular, despite nobody wanting them. Having said that, the concept of having a computer-controlled buddy is fine. Not only does it add a bit of strategy, it forces you to be a team player. You don't feel as overwhelmed when entering an enemy-filled environment, knowing there's someone watching your back. On top of that, it helps the player understand the protagonist more since they have someone to banter with. So why do the developers feel obligated to make these side characters so very annoying? In Resident Evil 4, Leon is stuck with a screeching teenager called Ashley. It's not the AI companion concept that's the problem, it's the character. As
She's
awesome
an
as Resi 4
annoying little
is,
girl.
it would have been better if Ashley wasn't so
Put her
irritating.
in a trash can
The
and
same
leave
goes
her.
with God of War. It was a stroke of genius to reconfigure the vengeful god-killing Kratos into a protective father who'll do anything to safeguard his son Atreus. But let's not pretend Atreus doesn't get on your nerves half the time. But what's worse than an annoying companion is an incompetent one. Your squad in Halo 5, Gears of War, and Left 4 Dead are so useless you'd be better off without them. Seriously, Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was a better programmed AI companion, and that game came out 30 years ago. Because AI companions seem to be getting worse with age, you have to wonder why they're becoming increasingly popular. Number 3. Companies hiding bad reviews. Constructive criticism is rarely welcomed, but it should always be appreciated. If a video game receives a harsh assessment, the developers shouldn't be offended, they should learn from it to avoid repeating the same mistakes in the future. But because bad reviews can lead to a huge loss in revenue, gaming companies perform all sorts of tricks to hide negative feedback.
Oh no,
Sometimes,
Arno.
reviewers must sign embargoes,
Boy.
preventing them from publishing their critique until a designated date. Although Assassin's Creed
Look at what
Unity
they've done
was
to
the
my
worst
boy.
and glitchiest entry in the franchise, it sold well because Ubi didn't lift the embargo until 12 hours after release, by which time everyone had realized Unity sucked. But it was too late since a legion of fans bought it
Unity
at
didn't
launch.
suck.
But
It was just broken to hell.
Companies like Bethesda blacklisted critics after they didn't shower their products with praise. The developers of The War Z banned any Steam users who disparaged the game while it was on early access, and Digital Homicide tried to sue Steam users after they lambasted their work. If these companies put as much effort into their work as they did in hiding their flaws, they wouldn't be in this mess to begin with. Number 2. Absolute bullshit. Video game promotions need to show off the property's biggest highlights to captivate viewers. But if the game is a bit crap, the marketing will rely on an ancient but highly effective strategy instead. Lying. Sometimes publishers will release game trailers that have no resemblance to the finished
Yeah. The phrasing used is called the vertical slice. The vertical slice of a video game is basically a pre-rendered, pre-constructed moment involving like the essential gameplay mechanics, but in a small confined like demo to where the game doesn't even behave this way out of that demo. It's literally just them lying. Like she said lying. They literally design a demo that's meant to lie to you. It's called the vertical slice.
Product. This technique, which is called bullshotting, has been implemented on many iconic games, consoles, and peripherals. Killzone 2's teasers look nothing like the finished result. The tone of Dead Island's teaser didn't match the game at all. Trailers for the Xbox Kinect hid the fact the accessory didn't bloody work. Because word of mouth can make or break any product, it's imperative the higher-ups are upfront with their games, knowing it could tarnish their reputations or sink their company if they deliberately mislead their audience. But as No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk 2077, and Gotham Knights prove, the industry isn't learning. There's always an outcry when gamers realize the game they purchased doesn't represent what's sold to them. This leads to frustration, resentment, boycotting, and mistrust. It happens so often now, fans aren't getting angry anymore. They're getting tired. They're so bored with being let down, they no longer pay attention to promotions and instead wait for the reviews before risking being.
And again, this is why I say this. Fuck reviewers. I know, I'm one reviewer myself. The people who you should watch when you want to see if the game works or if it's any good, streamers. Watch streamers, because you're going to see exactly how the game performs. You're going to see exactly how the game looks. You're going to see exactly what the person's reaction to it is without any bullshit. Unless they have the word "ad" in their name or in the title, they don't have to tell you a lie. When it comes to reviews, you don't like, they will tell you, oh, I'm not, even though I got this copy for free or it's paid to this review, I'm allowed to be honest. They're telling you that, but you don't know if it's 100% true. You watch a streamer, you watch my live stream playing a game, and you see how I'm reacting to it. You're getting into the real raw emotions. You get to see how the game plays. You see how mechanics work. You see it that way. Watch streamers, not reviewers.
Heartbroken again. Number 1. Studios do what they want, not what players want. When Warcraft 3 Reforged was released, it erased the original from existence. Not only were devoted gamers unable to play the classic ever again, they had to settle with a pitiful remake, rampant with glitches and technical errors. Even though nobody wanted this jazzed up version, Blizzard didn't listen and released it anyway. Sadly, Blizzard hasn't learned a thing since they did it again last year. Even though they promised Overwatch and its sequel could operate simultaneously, the first installment service was shut down, forcing players to update to Overwatch 2. Although it's easy to harp on Blizzard, and we haven't even mentioned Diablo Immortal, it's obvious many other companies don't have consumers' best interests at heart. Rather than delaying broken games, they're being released in their unfinished form because the developers know they'll make a profit purely because of the branding. Companies keep pushing gimmicky peripherals.
It's important to understand this. It's not entirely the developer's fault. Like, you gotta understand like how the entire pyramid works. You got the publisher up top. Underneath them you get like basically the studio managers, studio presidents, studio directors, and then you have like the actual developers, people who are making the games. It's not their fault entirely that games are getting rushed out. There's microtransactions, there's DLCs, things like that. They have to put things into their game that they don't want to put into their game because the suits told them to, because they were forced to by their publisher. Even it comes like Babylon's Fall. Babylon's Fall, the developers of that game had their own idea for the game, and then Square Enix stepped in and made them change things. There's a number of articles out there about other games where the developers had an idea for the game, and then the people up top, the suits, forced them to change things around because they wanted more money, and that's why these games are getting released in a terrible state. A lot of people like just say it's the developer's fault. Sure, to an extent, but majority of people who are to blame for this kind of stuff is people who pay the bills, not the one making the games. It's the suits, it's the people, it's the higher ups, the leadership, who are, they're not making the game. They're just getting paid the same money, and they're just forcing these games out because they want that profit. While developers basically got to do all this crunch time and work overtime and things like that for a game that should be delayed another year, but instead it's getting released tomorrow.
That don't work. More than ever, games require a permanent internet connection, even if it has no effect on the gameplay. At a certain point, you gotta ask, why are gaming corporations pushing for an agenda nobody asked for? If companies like this keep ignoring the gamers, a time will come where we'll start ignoring the games. That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment box.
Solid video. I always love Jess. Her voice is amazing, and she did like a lot of great content for GameSpot back in the day. I didn't know she was with WhatCulture, but cool that she is. Yeah, give them a like if you want to look at some video game content. You know, obviously give them a subscribe if you want to too. It was a good video, but that's it for me. Do all things algorithm likes. The link to this video will be in the box below as always. Every reaction video I watch, the links to their original video is always in the box below, so you can check it out and show them some love. Follow me on Twitch, links to me in the box below. Remember, Monday through Thursday. I'll be putting new videos. Have a good day. I'll catch you when I catch you. Stay safe. I'm out of here. Deuces.